For some boom, baby, boom, rise and shine. This is a beautiful Homer Simpson, The Simpsons morning motivation time. I'm your host with the most is Marky Saint, and I'm bored and lonely in Finland. That's something to identify with because that's usually when most of us abuse substances, is when we're at our most bored or at our most lonely. And Lord knows I've tried, but it's still working against me. And now we got to have this conversation this morning for the morning motivation. My stomach's bothering me, so I'm going to get in it to win it. Per usual, we're going to have this conversation because it needs to take place. If you're not harming yourself, you're healing yourself, right? But this is what takes place. You know, you get into regions where you don't get to escape, and that's why it's called Saint's Addiction. You know what I mean? There's so many things that we use for escapism. It's not even funny. So many different outlets where we want someone else to come save us, or a situation to come save us, or, you know, benefit from not having to live inside of our minds. And, you know, Lord knows I've tried, you know, hollering at multiple girls in Finland, or haven't had sexual experience in a minute, and what it takes to push people to these situations where you get repetitive. You know, you end up going to the same park and drinking with the same people, smoking with the same people, and it's part of their escapism. And then you end up joining the escape crew and wondering why nothing ever moves forward. You just endlessly keep going to the same park, drinking the same drinks, going with the same people, smoking the same weed, and those days can go by so quickly, and you're going to wonder why is this even taking place? You know, why am I like this? And this is the whole that's taken place for me as an individual that's visited Finland a bunch of different times. It's all changed. You know, my friends grew up, you know, they got kids, they stopped answering the phones. You know, I've been here so many times, it's not as genuine as I'd like it to be, you know, especially when you're someone who approaches strangers in a place where they give you the stink eye for even talking to them. I remember the other chick had a purse, and it said, I couldn't read it at the time, it said Marc Jacobs on it. And I said, what does that say on your shit, you know, right here? What does that say? And she was like, gave me the weirdest look. And the other girl the other day, go ahead, beautiful, we were walking in through the thing, and she was just like, look back once, stink eye, stink eye, stink eye, 4 different times. Like, she's never heard a human being speak to her before. And it's just like, here's the beginning of the end for us all. You know, when we can't express ourselves honestly, totally, completely, where we can't find someone to relate to, and when we do talk to someone, it kills all of our vibe because they've given us the stink eye, and then you don't want to talk to anybody at all. You know, you're just going to retreat into your shell, into your mind, and be like, okay, maybe I need to just go home, try not to drink, try not to masturbate, try not to smoke weed, get no alleviation from the pain that is being me or being outwardly. And here's what ends up happening: we get into our own situations where we just stay comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, we have the cat, stay a cat, cat gives you a little bit of joy. Food gives you a little bit of joy. These sensations make us feel a little bit more better about our lives, and that's our escapism. That's our 4 hours of binge watching Netflix, or eating food, or masturbation, or whatever else we do to distract ourselves. It's out there, you know, waiting for us to just not be on the task. But then we get bored, and that's what the devil's playground, bro. That's what I've always said. Idle hands is the devil's playground. Well, even the busy hands have a way of finding a way, you know, to distract ourselves every day, at any moment that we can, to just get away from whatever's in our brain or whatever's driving us insane. We'll find a way to distract ourselves, bro. We want to be able to get out of the pain or the boredom or the loneliness, which is an epidemic. You know, I'm here, haven't had sex in almost like 10 months. And the girl that I almost had sex with, just had sex, hadn't had sex for 10 months either, but then she found someone to fucking cuddle with, but then she wanted to argue with me, and then I have a headache on my hands, and I'm like, I'd rather be lonely than unhappy, driven crazy by different people and their situations, you know what I mean? And even if you wanted to play it like a saint and keep your halo on as if nothing hurts you or nothing's going on, it's still gonna need some kind of sensation. There's gonna be a need to breathe, there's gonna be a need to talk, there's gonna be a need to connect, and all of us reaching out to feel something with that effect, feel that vibe that somebody's alive or somebody even cares about us or keeps us alive, like having sex keeps you alive longer. Having connection keeps you alive longer. This is, you want to connect the lifespan. They don't have that at the hospital. They don't have that on the shelf. If you haven't been around human beings long enough, and if you are around the right human beings that aren't performing the same situations or the same habits that are like creating dementia or creating further loneliness, nothing's worse than just going like, I'm just going to go home, ignore everybody and ignore the world and just not plug in. And that's what we're saying. We're like, I can't do it anymore. Bless up. Join We Club. That we as creatures of comfort or creatures that need other creatures or creatures of repetitive behavior, you know who you are, I know who I am, that will get stuck inside of our minds, inside of our heads, where we're going to need escape. And most of us use like a sexual escape or an edible escape or a buying escape. We do spending sprees, we do orgies, we'll do anything but to feel like our regular bored selves, anything that gets us unnumb. I mean, as far as like BDSM or nonchalant, risky behaviors like drunk driving. I'm fine, I said to my friend. I'm fine. And lo and behold, I was not okay. My ex-girlfriend drove me to drink. Next thing I know, I'm spending the time in the tank, getting arrested for a DUI because my friend let me drive, even though I told him I wasn't okay to drive. Still my responsibility, still my broken heart. And this is what ends up happening. We go for all sorts of things to give us a spark. Anything that gets us away from feeling what we want to feel. And it turns out that people are the magic, yet we can't stand anybody. We can't trust anybody. We can't stand anybody. Can't find anybody. I'm trying to work on an app where we can find someone, matching someone. Hey, you want to play Frisbee? Hey, you want to play chess? Hey, you want to go out to dinner? We're all doing it alone. And one is the loneliest number that you'll ever knew. It's the loneliest number because that keeps you bouncing off inside your head, which is usually in repetition because it's always carved out a way to have some sort of motivation or a dopamine hit of some sort. And then we're just like, that's the way we keep ourselves. And I was like, it's just boring. Boring going to the same park, smoking the same weed with the same people. Boring that there's not more alternatives for other people to do but just go to the bar. And then it's like, those people are broke in. They're not just broke, they're spending money in there. They're broken people in there, drinking at the bottom of the drink, looking at the bottom for solutions. Like, where's my relief? Is it in there? And we don't care. We're going more insane because we've been alone too long. Then when it's time to actually be in front of somebody, we're scared. We don't know how to talk to them. We don't know how to disagree. It breeds familiarity, and then we get in abusive cycles, abusing food, getting abused in relationships, or just abusing time, which is a thing, to not have. You only have so much time on the planet to bind with someone, and they're always like, oh, you're so young, you got all the time in the world. And then I looked up, and I'm 45, and it's all gone. All the girlfriends are gone. All the sensations of adventure for travel are gone. It's just like, I'm just here. I live here. But I don't live here. I'm not a citizen. I'm on overstay and I'm just trying to enjoy the weather. And part of that is doing things, and without money, you're like, shit, I'm used to buying my attention or my entertainment or my escapism. And without money, I end up sitting around watching more TV, playing with my phone more, masturbating more, doing all the same shit over and over again, wondering why I haven't got the win. Why haven't I won all the money? Then that would change. Then I would have more sex. I would have more friends. I would do more things. Right. As if it's outside of me. And then when I do have the time, I don't even want to go outside. Yesterday I was so comfortable. And it was so hot. Too hot, baby. I'm glad my friends called me because it forces me to go outside and do something. But Lord knows, I had nothing. Where do you want to go? Same old park. How about that other park? How about that other park? And just park and spark to the same 3-4 parks that we always go to in like rotation. And yeah, we mix up the rotation so it's not the same crazy day. But if I look down, I'm wearing the same shirt. And if you didn't tell me, it'd be the same day. If I didn't know I went to sleep and I didn't have a calendar, it'd be the same day, like a fucking Groundhog's Day. It's crazy. It's crazy. We need connection, not distraction. We're so close to having that spiritual awakening that, we all are connected, from the mycelium to the roots to the trees to the leaves to even me watching these grow. I'm like, isn't that so cool that I gave the plants water, right? Give some water to the plants. I give water to the plants, and the plants know how to act. The leaves start coming up, they absorb, I think they use the light to reflect. Hear me out now. They use the light to reflect itself, right? Like a prism, just like a magnifying glass, takes the light into the leaves and makes sure it gets all that energy into itself, photosynthesis, and direct that into actual energy like food from the sky, from the sun, and it absorbs and it reacts. But here we are, not getting enough sun, not getting enough exercise, repeating the same things over and over again, not having enough sex, not having enough babies, and then wondering why people are in depression or why they're committing addiction, and why these vicious circles take place. Is that bored, poor, broke, lonely is what we used to say in the South. Poor, broke, lonely. Are you poor, broke, lonely? It's like the 3 worst things you can be, because if you got somebody, you're already a rich man. If you have somebody to go into bed and they're keeping you warm and they're rubbing your back and you're cuddle fucking the shit out of each other, then you're a winner. I, on the other hand, don't feel successful because there's not that much money in the bank. And there's not that many shorties what you think. And it becomes a new day, and I end up doing the same thing. Bored in Finland. This is crazy. My nose is running because I'm watching what's that, baby? And then I'm watching a cat, and I'm the cat lady. Look at this. This is crazy. I don't want my only entertainment to come from a 4-legged being. I want to have deep conversations, and I don't want to have arguments, and I want to have intimacy, and I don't want to have loneliness, and I want to have dinners and sushi dates and all the other things we dream. But then I gotta go out there and get it, and I can't even keep my fucking phone on. It's just crazy. Hard out here for a pimp. Tried to get 3-4 deals before my phone got turned off. None of them came through. Now my phone's off, and then there's like 3 people that called that could have kept my phone on. What's a player to do? How are we to survive in the 21st century if we don't have apps that are combining us with people of like interest? Is someone near me that wants to play Frisbee? Is there someone near me that wants to play chess? Is there someone near me that doesn't want to eat alone? I'm working on this. This will happen. A proximity app to let us know when to approach. I heard one girl go, "I'm a super boss, babe. Da, 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 da. I invented a ring that glows green to say I'm good to go." Yeah, it's too subtle. You're going to have to get a fucking notification to say, "Hey, I'm available." you know, and I want to put myself out there to meet someone new, so therefore they can be the new catalyst, new chemical in my brain, instead of the lonely boredom go insane. It's driving me insane. This cat's driving me insane. Kept me up all night running around. I'm allergic to cats. My nose has been stuffy. I'm just complaining. All these girls keep blocking me. Hey, you're beautiful. Yeah, reliable models. Block. I got a couple girls that say I model. Don't get it twisted. I've added about 2 or 3 this week, but it's not the same as being lonely. You need something in your life where it keeps you entertained, because we're just only one side of the track. There's the A side and the B side of the track. Heroes and villains, counterparts, yin and yangs, halos and horns, mostly saints. This is where it comes from. I've driven myself nuts with business. Obsessing about business is my best way of distracting myself, feeling like I do something with my day. That seems to be the best way. And that's how I feel about the day. I feel like Finland can be quite boring. And now I know why people drink. One of the largest consumers of coffee and alcohol in the world, because there's no one else to talk to. My friend was saying she's so far north, she had to come down in meetings, that she would do meetups and get on Facebook group pages, anything, so she doesn't go fucking insane. I got one friend all the way in the north of in Norway, and she has a cabin by herself. All she does is take photos of her in the cabin. This one's sneaking a meal. Yep, you know what it is. And now I'm watching a cat eat while I smoke my joints, wondering where's my pussy. You know? Why are my relationships broken? Maybe I spend too much time thinking about broken relationships. Leaving messages for my ex, who popped up on my Telegram. You know? That's her butthole. She's flashing the butthole. Yeah. It's in your eyes. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. What's in your eyes? Got him. You know? And that's all we do. We can take care of pets, but we can't take care of our inner child. We can take care of bills, but we don't know how to take care of thrills. You know, it's one of these things where it becomes so cyclical that all of these people are running around doing the same thing just to keep buying the same shit. There's IKEA. There it is. Everybody's shopping at IKEA, trying to furnish a building that they can barely pay for to live inside of it all the time. It's like the TVs get bigger, but our perspective gets smaller. Our options become dwindled. Now, all of a sudden, look at her dog trying to be all up in my shit, trying to smell me. Now, all of a sudden, we just don't know how to be. You know what I mean? We just don't know how to see our eventualities. We just don't know how to be, you know, who we really need to be. Cats on shirts, baby. And that's what it is. You know, you can only get so much from like a cat. You know, you can only get so much from kids. You know what I'm saying? Cats on shirts, shirts for cats. And that's what it is. It's a definitive, you know, it's one of those things where we swear we can see what needs to take place, but we can't seem to move into those situations. And here we are, you know, distracting ourselves in any way, shape, or form that we can. Maybe it's fashion, maybe it's traveling, maybe it's masturbation. We'll do everything we can but connect, right? Like, but talk to strangers, meet someone new. It's such a high risk sport, you know, making out in the forest, and then all of a sudden you're arguing, and then you're just like, fuck, this is a lot of stress, this is a lot of drama, this is something I don't want to feel. And what do we do to not feel? You can write that down for yourself. You can literally make a list of what are my escapisms. You know, what are the patterns that I have that keeps me from doing the things that I need to take action on. And they talk about the men of action, or anyone that can take action and boldly go and say, okay, yo, let me get this bike together so I can go on bike rides. My friends have been inviting me and said, you need a bike, bro. Then you can get on the bike with me, get on the train, go down to Helsinki, and we can roll around. And I was like, yes, blessed. You know, let's do something like that. Or the girl that I was kind of seeing, and she wanted to go camping. She had all the gear. I was like, yes, bless. Let's do something like that. And before I got bored and in a situation where I ran out of money and I got an overstay, and now I got to go find a way to get to the next country. We're going to be at Vietnam for Intersect.ai. And it's all those things, the business things, they accelerate me. Like, it gets me to travel to Vietnam, never been there. That's going to be exciting. I love Southeast Asia. I've been to all the other places, Cambodia, Thailand. They're fighting right now. Cut it out, guys. And Laos, a bunch of times. I've even been to Myanmar to the left, and Kuala Lumpur to the south. I've got around in that area, so I'm pretty familiar, but I've never been to Vietnam. So never doing something that's still exciting to me. And it's hard to replace excitement if you don't have the dopamine, right? If you don't know what makes you go, you know what I'm saying? Your dopamine pathways are going to linger in front of you and always kind of chase it, like, oh, here comes the coffee, I'll just go get it. Or, you know what, some more morning motivation or masturbation or whatever else we do to distract ourselves to keep our dopamine high in our minds, because it's important, right? We're going to have to find a way to stay high in our brain. There's nobody that wants to stay low or feel depressed, or everybody's going to want to elevate themselves. And it's almost our homeostasis. How do we get back to normal? Well, most of us have carved away. Actually, every one of us has carved away. We've all found a way to carve out our lives to make it feel okay. And I want mine to feel a-okay. I want mine to feel better than okay. I want it to feel higher than okay. Okay? And that's the plan for today, is to just like kind of break up the monotony without any money, without destroying me or repeating me or doing the same things over and over. I want to be free, utterly, totally, and completely free. So that way I'm not wasting my time, right? If you're alive, most of us have watched depression go by, years go by, at a job or depression or a relationship, and then we're wasting precious time instead of living our blessed lives. We hold on to our routine more than anything, and that becomes the God that we believe in, right? The routine is what we bow down to. Our dopamine is our master, and we'll just be like, you're the one that runs me. I have no self-control. Take me out of this boredom, take me out of this loneliness, take me out of this despair. And dopamine will be right there for you, especially if it's synthetic dopamine. You know what I mean? Synthetic dopamine will have you believing that cocaine can get you there. Man, this is such a good time. Let's snort some lines, right? Or, you know what we should do? We should do shots. And next thing you know, we're pulling our friend's hair back out of the toilet and shit. Like I said yesterday, the guy literally had a passed out girl, like he was taking her out of a fire, but still giving her a drink. I mean, completely ruined. And everybody's seen the worst parts of alcohol, and everybody's seen the worst parts of loneliness. And here I am, a 45 single guy, and I'm like, I don't want to die alone. I don't want to die like the old men that I see walking in the parks by themselves, and they can barely push their own strollers, and there's no one to talk to. There's no grandchildren. It seeming that way is setting up for me, and I was just like, this is insane. There's got to be a way to get unbored and unfucked, and that's what I'm trying to get to, is an area of my life where it's unfucked. You've unfucked yourself. You know what I mean? And that's what we need in our lives, and especially in our minds, is to unfuck ourselves. If we're the ones that fucked ourselves, why can't we unfuck ourselves? Why can't we undo the things that we do on a regular and have more self-control? This is where the discipline comes in. This is where, the consistent workouts. I know a lot of people that don't even work out. They're so fucking out of their minds. That's the only way they can keep from feeling destroyed. You know what I mean? It's the only way that they can feel like, things aren't a disaster. I see you, boo-boo. And that's what we do, We got to find a way to have something more to do with our lives, more interactive, you know what I mean? And less reactive, and more in the destination, So I was playing with my feet. More in the destination of, I can leave these zones that don't work for me. I can leave Finland and end up in Vietnam. I can leave celibacy. I love it when she runs up that whole thing. I can leave celibacy and tell myself how to be, how to be in relationships or how to sustain them or uh, um, consistently having sex and being intimate and being trusting. And we don't practice enough of these things, you know what I mean? No, we just keep torturing ourselves with the same dopamine and wondering why it's not hitting the same, why it's never enough Coca-Cola. Yeah, I saw you. Why there's never enough Coca-Cola, there's never enough caffeine, there's never enough coffee, there's never enough weed, there's never enough masturbation, there's never enough speed, there's never enough coke, there's never enough lines, there's never enough joints. It's a constant chemical battle to keep your brain from going insane. And that's the conversations I've been having, you know what I mean? It's just these like, how do I get free, mentally free? And that's what I want to be. I want to be mentally free, where even if I am lonely, I'm never alone. And even if I am bored, I always have something to do. And for the most part, that's pretty much been my life till I slowed down enough where there's really nothing to do. Finland's a place where you can just go, and I call it the Tikkarila Triangle because it's like when you're in the triangle, it's hard to leave the Bermuda Triangle. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to leave. Uh, Boats can't leave, airplanes get lost. Like, motherfucking, the Bermuda Triangle is a motherfucker. And why does it exist? Because there's a place that we all go to disappear, right? And I don't give a fuck who you are. Everyone's an addict to somehow, to some degree, to something. And when we figure it out, and figure out why we do the things that we do, and what are our motivations, and what are our dopamine addictions, then you're gonna be like, okay, that's me. When people are like, who are you? You know what I mean? Normally you would say your name. I'm Mark Saint. I'm from the clan of Saints. Right? Like, what the fuck is that? No, I want to meet you and be like, what are your addictions? Right. Right. What are your weaknesses? Talk about interview questions. And what are your fears? What are your excuses? You know what I'm saying? And what is your motivation? And that's why we're having the morning motivations, to ask myself the same questions over and over and go like, what is my motivation? What do I got going on? How do I keep it going on? And how do I get out of how do I get out of the same shit different toilet that I've been sitting on? So they're building walls. Things are getting built. Life is changing. People are out there. They're risking it. A lot more fun being outside in the fresh air, fresh sunshine. I am in the best part of the world right now, so you think I would be a little bit more positive, a little bit more motivated. And yesterday, all I did was sit inside till my buddy called, and we went to the same park to smoke the same joint. And I was like, that's it. I'm bored. I'm bored and lonely. And that's a vicious combination. So before I start taking shots and lines, I'm gonna not get out of my mind and find something to be more grateful for and do something with my bad self. You know what I mean? Looking back at me. What are you looking back at me for? Oh shit! Look at this thing. Look at this cat. Cat's crazy. So cats on shirts, shirts for cats. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Life is a blessing. We just gotta find something more than pets and food and buys. We got to figure out our own lives and reasons and seasons and all those things. Yes, kitty. Yes, kitty. And that's this morning's motivation. If you got anything out of this, go ahead, like and share, subscribe below, but go to Cats on Shirts. Go to Shirts for Cats on Instagram. This motherfucker trying to bite me. Support the cause. Get out of your head. Pets are okay, but they're only a small fix. I need babies. Sorry, kitty, but that's the truth. I need more pussy than you. So, it's my morning motivation. If you got anything out, oh, you swiped that, you little fucker. You got anything out of below? Peace and love. And as always, Chigathon. Man, this cat's gonna make me sneeze again. Chigathon. That means goodbye, but not forever in Finnish. And I will see you on the other side as soon as you like, share, and subscribe. The other side of your fear, the other side of your excuses, and the other side of the world, because that's where I am. Peace. That's what up.